welcome back. Let's talk money. In fact, let's talk money archetypes. Are you a big spender, a penny pincher, or perhaps a risk taker? Well, when it comes to money, we all have a very, very different relationship with our finances. And this is known as our money archetype. And knowing what our archetype is can significantly help us to make better money choices in the long run. You've got to know yourself, and here to help us explore our complex relationship with our money is the Executive for Financial Wellness and Advisory at NEDBANK, Dr. Frank Magwegwe. Dr. Mags.
Great to be here. I like the way you really introduced it, because money really is central to our lives.
It is.
And the idea of know thyself really speaks to this thing of money archetype. Money archetype is a big word for money personality. And for me, you know, when I think of money personality, I think about who is in the driving seat of your money. That's your personality, whether you're a penny pincher, whether you're a risk taker, whether you're a gifter.
And there are times where each one can be okay.
Absolutely.
It's not to say that you need to change yourself, but knowing a little bit about how you are going to respond in critical moments allows you to plan forward. So what creates this money archetype in your experience? What leads us to the point of, is it a psychological thing? Are we copying our parents? You know, we've been speaking about the sins of the father.
Yes.
Today, what informs that money archetype?
It's a little bit of everything. So I think one thing we must get clear at the beginning, and we're hinting on it now, there's none that's bad.
Okay.
Right? So if you think of personality, for example, we've got people who say they're extroverts, and then we've got people who say they're introverts. It's like that. But where problem starts, if it's too much of one thing, if it's too dominant. So where do they come from? Well, they come from a little bit of genetics, right? Just like some people are a little bit more impulsive than others.
Yeah.
That certainly drives it. Another is what we call it NEDBANK, financial socialization. Simply meaning, as you were growing up, what were the discussions around money in your family?
What were you exposed?
What were you exposed? What are you observing parents doing? So that comes into play. Your level of financial knowledge. Just the general knowledge around savings, around investment, what we often call financial literacy. Then, of course, I must throw in this one. Keeping up with the Jordans. Seeing what others are doing and wanting to do it with your money. That also is a big part of money archetypes.
And the world doesn't help. It doesn't help because it reinforces
I want that
those.
car.
Yeah, exactly.
My mate adversity is driving it as well. I want it.
How would you say the best way to establish what you are? What questions do you need to ask yourself? How do you go about identifying what archetype?
What a wonderful question. So what I'm trying to do is really to say, what is it that I do with my money? What informs it? So part of it is just reflecting on, am I the person who's saying, I want it now, I get it? That gives you an idea of, maybe I don't necessarily like planning, as an example. Am I the sort of person who says, a friend comes to me and they say, hey, Baba, things are tough, help me. And you're always helping others. That could be an example, you know, of a carer. Sometimes a carer would ask another question. Do I care so much that I often end up in financial challenges
myself? Do I care about myself?
But I'm helping others. Am I caring about myself? We often talk about the gifter. That's a person who says, hey, I must pat myself on the back. I've done something good. I'm getting myself a gift. You know? So you sort of ask questions, what drive what I'm doing about my... But what we have also done is NEDBANK, to make it easy for consumers. We have a website, nedbank.co.za. You can go there. A number of psychological questions that we ask. It's not a lot, about 10 or so. And out of that comes what we are talking about. Are you a gifter? Are you a penny pincher? And it's so important because you start knowing what I do with money is influenced by, and then you'll be able to answer that question.
I love the fact that you've kind of, and I use the word inversion a lot lately because it kind of feels like we've become, as opposed to focusing on the mass market, we're focusing on the individual.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because if you don't have enough individuals making up that market, you're not going to have a market. And you guys need your market to be financially potentialized, to be aware and to do this. And you've written it into your DNA to help people learn these steps. What kind of breakthrough can a person have by identifying their archetype and acting on that, as opposed to reacting without knowing kind of who they are? What are the benefits for coding yourself, understanding yourself?
I like it, coding yourself.
Yeah, and then moving forward from that basis point.
You know, so for us, this idea of money archetypes really underpins we are money experts who do good at NEDBANK. Let me give you a practical example. Currently, many South Africans are struggling with high levels of indebtedness, right? So one of the archetypes that drives that is the idea of status, right? The big shot, that's what we call it. This is a person who wants to show the world, I've made it.
Especially in lower socioeconomic brackets where it's even more dangerous.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's what I drive, it's what I wear, it's what I eat, it's kind of where do I holiday. Now, if you think about that, it drives your spending, but you're not sure it's being driven by this idea of status. I want people to say, yeah, you're looking nice. Look at the brand that you're wearing today. So by just realizing that something underlying what I do with money is kind of trying to it's trying to show others that I've kind of arrived. And that's what's driving my spending. By knowing that, one is able to say, but do I really need this extra pair of? And then you can complete the name, right? Because I just know a little bit about myself, especially in an environment that is difficult as we are in now for most consumers.
No, very much so. And it's not to say that any one of these archetypes is wrong. I'm going to reiterate that.
Yes.
It's about knowing thyself, as we have so eloquently put. We're going to continue this vitally important and really interesting conversation that speaks to our relationship with money, but also speaks to how we see ourselves and how much control we have. There is an opportunity for you to emancipate, seeing as we're using the big words, free yourself, but also to get to that point that you want to without kind of making the rest of the world think you are. Believe it yourself, you can get there, but it starts with knowing yourself. We'll continue now.
Check this. The Smiles Plus account gives you cash back on groceries and 25 cents back per litre at BP. That's lit.
Lit in 2023. Weather.